we got 13 people looking already on what's going here? Oh, sorry, I'm hitting the wrong button. We're now live. Okay. Hi, everybody. I am going to go here. I've no viewers yet, so you're not being picked up yet.
Okay. We're having a trouble with loading.
So we've got wave. I say hi.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
Hi guys. You there? So great. Okay, so Joanna's now here on Instagram. So I am just going to bring her onto the screen and add her in. Excellent. So we're waiting, Joanna, for you just to connect in.
To connect, yeah. I think I'm
Yeah.
in.
And we're the right way around.
Yeah, we got it right this time. Well, I got it right
this time. That is great.
Sorry, I'm trying to set it up so that everybody can see me properly.
And you can see your hand there. Oh. Okay, so I think we're all good on Facebook on this side and Instagram on this side. Yeah. Excellent. Okay, brilliant. Yeah, we're being told that everything is good here. I'm hoping Instagram, you can definitely hear us. Can you just give a little thumbs up if I'm looking here, or a like or a love or just something, just so we can hear, know that you can actually hear us would be great. And I know Facebook is good. So guys, we really want to welcome you again to Healthcare Sunday broadcast now. This is week number 7, and today Joanna and I would really want to touch base with you and speak about a topic which would be known as emotional eating. This is a topic that affects a large amount of people, I think, out there, and especially maybe it's more so now with the COVID-19 pandemic being more, being here really over the last 7 or 8 weeks. Once again, a bit like our body image talk last week, Joanna, it's really kind of flagged my attention to it, with all the people speaking about what they should be eating, what they shouldn't be, why they're, maybe deeming themselves as maybe overeating, or why they're not overeating, or just there's a lot of uncertainty. So I think we just thought that this would be a great topic at the moment. So it's something that you work in your clinic on, and I work as a dietitian in my clinic on as well. So just to those of you who don't know us, I'm Harriette Lynch. I'm a consultant dietitian and a personal trainer. I suppose my keen focus is on emotional eating. It's on eating disorders. It's on disordered eating as well, would be one of my key focuses. And this joining me today is Joanna Kesicka, psychologist and psychotherapist, and also has a keen focus on eating disorders, disordered eating, and emotional eating as well. So I suppose cutting to the chase, Joanna, you're very welcome to join me this evening. It's great to have you.
Thanks very much, Harriette, and thank you for the great workout that you've done previously.
Oh, I know.
Way to energize us.
I feel nearly underdressed here because I'm here sitting in a fleece top, thinking that I should probably more have a professional head on by clothing and stuff. But Joanna, do you want to talk a little bit about maybe your psychotherapy clinics and how this comes into it, maybe?
I suppose, all of us have different ways of dealing with stress and with difficult emotions. So sometimes the strategies that we choose, our coping mechanisms are healthy, and some of them, they are unhealthy. So the healthy ones, we all would know them. It's, connecting with people around us, engaging in activities that we enjoy, something like hobby, something like sports. But sometimes when we don't know, when there are too many emotions, they might be too overwhelming and it's too difficult, then we might turn to unhealthy ways of coping that can involve, we all know this, addictions, alcohol, internet, gambling, and one of them might be food. So sometimes when we feel under pressure, we might use food as our primary way of coping with difficult emotions, and that's what we would then indeed called emotional eating, when we actually don't eat out of hunger, when we don't eat to fuel our body, but when we overeat to soothe ourselves, to numb the pain maybe, and to use food as a crutch that's going to help us to deal with whatever we are going on, what we're going through.
Brilliant, Joanna. And from your side and from your clinics, you would work on the psychological side of this, and I suppose from my side, I would work on the biological side. So we really, when we work together, we're connecting both the psychological and the biology as well. Okay, what I mean by biology is the foods we eat and how they interact in our body. So I mean, words that I really, really detest in people's language are, I'm going to be, I'm focusing on being healthy today, or I'm going to be good today, or all these pressures on people's, and people's mindsets as well, and what is actually happening. And so that would be my side, would be more about biology and trying to get the nutrient balance right. So, people then can help, the food that they're eating helps them to manage their day-to-day anxieties. And from your side, you're kind of highlighting maybe more the psychological side. Can you go into that a little bit more, the psychology behind emotional eating?
Well, basically, as you said, you're focusing on the kind of the physical side of it. I would focus on the emotional side. So I would try to find the causes for the reasons why we feel the way we feel, and then find alternative ways of coping and alternative strategies rather than using food. But the cycle that you ask, how does it work? So, for example, it works in a way that we might feel overwhelmed or stressed or anxious for whatever reason. So we feel uneasy, there is something going on in the body and we don't know how to manage that. So then we might feel an overwhelming need to eat, an urge to eat, to help ourselves through this difficult period. So then we eat too much. We don't eat up to a point when we are full, like with the physical hunger. We go overboard with this, and then that might lead for us to feel maybe powerless, maybe guilty. There might be shame attached to it. So again, to the emotions we had already, we are adding now the shame and the guilt that comes with the overeating, and then we are even in a bigger trouble. So then the cycle can repeat itself again and again and again. So if you're not aware of this, if you're not mindful of it, if you don't have enough information about it, you actually might be trapped in this cycle. Because also for the reason that there's so much shame and guilt attached to it, people actually are not likely to talk about it, to share. We might, if we do share with people that are close to us, we might say that, oh yes, I'm stressed and I'm feeling like that, but it's less likely that we will actually name the behavior that we are engaging in, just because of the shame that is attached to it, and it's not very easy to comfort with that kind of information.
How would you know if you were an emotional eater, Joanna?
How would you know? Well, first of all, you would notice that you eat more than you need, that you don't eat up until a point when you have satisfied your physical hunger, but you would overeat, and then you would feel uncomfortable because of that. If you would eat more at the times when you are stressed, that's another sign that you might be emotionally eating. When you eat to calm yourself and to soothe yourself rather than to satisfy your hunger again, to make yourself feel better. Sometimes we might food to reward ourselves, and then again, yes, we not eat way too much, and food makes us maybe feel safe. And then when we actually, that's when it gets more complicated, more difficult, when we plan to eat too much, when we kind of buy the food that we're going to consume, and we're planning on doing that. So this is another sign that things are getting out of hand. So
maybe if you're in fueling your car up, and instead of just paying for the petrol, you might gather up bits and pieces just to maybe, to curb down, to maybe suppress down your emotions that you're feeling. Would you find that happening? Yeah.
Yes. So, and then you would like to, you will plan how are you going to do it. You will make sure that you have a nice space when you're not going to be disturbed, so you can engage into it. And then sometimes if you find that you're hiding the wrappers from the food, that's another sign.
That's the same. Yeah, in our clinic as well. From a dietetic side, maybe trying to find a time where you're alone. We kind of find that quite often coming. Another, time might be, planning, right, the children are gone to bed. And maybe, you know, in some cases, food might be hidden at the back of cupboards, or they can all be signs that you're emotional eating. One point, though, I do want to express today that there is a difference, because I had a question in earlier. Do I have an eating disorder? So I think I really want to say that if you're emotional eating does not mean that you have an eating disorder. An eating disorder is something that Joanna and I will talk about at another day, maybe next week, Joanna. We might talk about eating disorders, because having emotion, being an emotional eater, sorry, I'm just getting distracted there. So being an emotional eater and an eating disorder are two very, very different things. An eating disorder is a psychiatric illness. Emotional eating just might be just dealing with a tough time you're going through right now, or just maybe even just you can't express yourself, or and it misses the psychiatric element of it. So that will be a different topic that we will touch base on. And I think we'll do that next week, Joanna. What do you think?
That's okay. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. I think it's very important to talk about that, so that, you know, we won't assume things too quickly, that we have enough information before we say, and before people kind of start putting labels on what I'm doing. So it's exactly as you say, there are various degrees of that.
Because when we announced doing this topic today, that was one question that came in, like, if I'm an emotional eater, you know, do I have an eating disorder? No is the answer, not necessarily. Okay, so we just want to clear that up right now. Okay, Joanna, is there a difference between kind of an emotional hunger and a physical hunger?
Well, yes, certainly there is a difference between emotional hunger and physical hunger. So emotional hunger kind of comes over us much quicker than it's very overwhelming, as opposed to physical hunger. Physical hunger would come, probably you know more about this, but it will kind of come more gradually. We will, if there is has been a bigger pause, bigger space between our meals, we will kind of gradually start feeling hungry. With emotional eating, it's just we want it here, we want it right now. And usually we would also go for different types of food when we are actually physically hungry or when we are emotionally hungry. And so we will crave different types of food, and we would also consume them differently. When we are satisfying our physiological hunger, we would kind of pay more attention to the flavors, to the smell, to the texture, and we will enjoy the food more. While emotionally eating, we'll probably eat very, very quickly. We would eat mindlessly, and then we will eat whatever was in front of us without even noticing how much did we consume, and then we would actually crave probably more. And another difference would be that we eat not up until the point that we are satisfied. We eat more. We overeat. And
just from my side, the physical hunger, and for people trying to go, well, how do I know if I'm physically hungry? You know, rumbly feeling in your stomach that you get, but might get some just feeling a bit chilly. You know, that can be a sign that you might be physically hungry. You might even feel a little bit weak. You know, just kind of going, a little bit lightheaded. If you're at work, you might actually be starting to think a little bit about your next meal, or, you know, that's all signs that your body is giving you. And there's just so many ways that the body communicates with us. And I think so many people are very disconnected between their mind and their body. And the most popular nerve that's talked about now on the internet is a nerve called the vagus nerve. You know, I've never heard so many people coming out and just, you know, talking about this nerve that connects the brain and I suppose the body right down to our gut. And it's really also really important that more and more science is coming out to show that the better balance, of nutrients we're consuming, the healthier our gut is, and that also reflects into our emotions as well. So there's a lot of science coming out to support this and how connected the whole body is. But if you're quite disconnected with your body, or you're always maybe rushing around, looking after other people, just really involved in your work, you know, you can kind of lose that connection of how your body is telling you that you're physically hungry. And people can kind of push past that hunger. And then your physiology actually helps you to try and manage it. Your body tries to look after you all the time. There are different types of hunger. Not just, I suppose, the physical side and the emotional side. I suppose there's other types of hunger, like maybe a social hunger, Joanna.
Okay.
That doesn't mean, like, if there is a social hunger, or eating together, but not necessarily it's your meal or your snack, that is okay too, isn't it? That doesn't mean,
absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
One important difference also that we did not mention, that the feelings that we have after we've eaten, if we eat with people, if we enjoy our food, we generally tend to feel good. But when we will know that we actually emotional eating is when those feelings that I made earlier, the regret, the guilt, and the shame are going to be around. And then you know that something doesn't actually, something is going wrong here.
Okay, yeah. And who do you think? Sorry, go on.
Naturally, when we satisfy our hunger, we are happy about the fact that we have given our body what it needs, something that you've been talking about, that we are fueling our body to allow it to function at its optimal level. Nevertheless, with emotional eating, it's not the case.
Yeah, absolutely. Who do you think might be more affected now, Joanna? Is this something do we think that's increasing at the moment? I've definitely maybe 7 or 8 weeks. What do you think of that? Like, who?
Sorry, Harriette, the connection was breaking, so I did not hear your question, actually. Who is more prone to?
No problem. I was just wondering, like, who might be affected by emotional eating? Is there any, is it just, could be anybody? Would it be a certain demographic of people? Or what do you feel that might be affected right now?
Well, everyone who has less support around them, everyone who who didn't discover their coping mechanisms earlier, because COVID-19 situation is very triggering for many people. So all those people who actually were not dealing with their emotions that well before, they might be prone to that differently. People who maybe live alone, and people who are not so socially connected so well, so the feelings of loneliness might be increasing for them. So it's going to make them more prone to do that. People who maybe didn't have other things in their lives, as like, for example, like work, and now that work is not there, they might be more affected by that stress, and that might make them more prone to emotional eats as well. But I mean, everybody responds to stress differently.
So I suppose it's going to be really important for, if you find yourself emotional eating, maybe to seek help, contact, consultant dietitian, contact a psychotherapist as well, to kind of work together with both these to be able to figure out the kind of physical, the biological side, and then the psychobiological side as well. What might be triggering you is really, really important, so you as an individual, and also our lives. Although everything is kind of stopped in the pandemic at the moment, our lives have actually become quite busy, because a lot of people are trying to manage, if their work is still going, they're trying to manage that. Mm-hmm. If the work has ceased, well, they're trying to cope with the emotions of that. But also a lot of people might have children, and then they're trying to manage, they're used to drop their children. Yeah, that there's a lot of different reasons at the moment why people may be affected by emotional eating, and I know one thing you said earlier to me, Joanna, is for people is to start working on stopping emotional eating. You need to identify the triggers that might be causing it.
Yes. It's very important to identify the triggers. Yes. So to actually ask yourself the question, what is it that is stressing you out? Is it the places? Is it the people? Is it the situation? Are you avoiding certain emotions? Because you actually might be quite okay with that, dealing with, I don't know, maybe with sadness. But in terms of anger, for example, maybe that's something that you don't allow yourself to express in a healthy way. And that's why you try to kind of suppress it and pretend that it's not there. So it will be about asking yourself a question, pressing the pause button and asking yourself, what is really going on for me in this situation? What do I really need? What am I really looking for that I'm trying to kind of cover up with food? So identifying the triggers, identifying the feelings, whether it's being sad, whether it's being lonely, it's being angry, being anxious, exhausted, bored, anything. Life having no meaning at the moment because everything is changing, or, there's a lot of uncertainty as well in the COVID-19 situation, a lot of anxiety linked to that. How are we going to manage afterwards? How will the world change? Will everything go back to normal? When will it go back to normal? And it might be, people from kind of different groups, people who have families, people who are actually studying and they were about to have their exams and maybe go to college and start a new life, but actually they don't know when is it going to happen. Maybe they were going to move out. Maybe somebody was going to, embarking on the trip, traveling for a year and, looking forward to an adventure. They don't know what's going to happen as well. So yes, a lot of anxiety out there and uncertainty.
And trying to find a new way as well for people, a lot of, we'd be coming to the end of the school year on the Northern Hemisphere side. I know down in Australia and New Zealand, it's different for them because they're trying to nearly, they're kind of just at the beginning of, halfway through, I suppose, their school year, where we're coming towards the end of it. And a lot of people might have had holidays booked, so there might be a lot of disappointment there.
Yes.
As we approach kind of, now it's May, middle of May now, so isn't it, as we approach kind of June, July, August, we're kind of going, right, we have to find new ways of living. And that may be, trying to deal with the emotions of that could be an effect for some people as well.
Absolutely. And also people kind of feeling lonely because they're not able to see their parents, their elderly parents, and anybody else, or maybe couples who don't actually live together. I was chatting about that recently to some of my clients, that how hard it is if you don't live with your partner, because maybe you're not there just yet, but at the same time you're not able to see them now. So that's another strain on the relationship.
Do you know what? I was only talking to a person yesterday about that. They were saying that their girlfriend was the other side of the city, and they're in their 5K zones and they cannot see. So it's very hard. There's only so much that that Zoom or FaceTime or social media can help us in that time. That we do miss the human connection. So there are many reasons out there for people to be emotional eating right now. However, one thing that I would really like to help people today is to try and help them at the moment is to connect more into what their body is telling them and not to fight what their body is telling them. There's a lot of people trying to go, what is this that why am I feeling this? And, we do have 5 senses. And from that would be, touch, smell, sight, taste, and hearing. And believe it or not, with physical, these 5 senses all play in what you're going to be choosing, when you're going to be eating. For example, like people are going, how does hearing affect, whether I'm hungry or not? But to be honest with you, your hearing can pick up other people's conversations on, if you're kind of getting close to being hungry, you might hear more of other people talking about food or talking about their dinner last night or their breakfast this morning, or and you're able to pick up on their conversation, even though you're maybe not part of that conversation. Your sight can greatly, show signs in that if you're in a fed state and you're going for a walk, you might notice certain coffee shops open. However, if you're starting to get hungry, you might be more aware of, oh, that coffee shop is open for takeaway now, and that one is over there, and that one is, and you start become more aware of choice, your smell, the classic bakery is, although they might be closed at the moment, or maybe they're open, I'm not too sure, but you go in and you're smelling the food, or in the supermarket, or and you're able to smell the food that's available. Perhaps if you're not hungry going into the supermarket or going towards a bakery, you mightn't have noticed, your smell mightn't be that heightened, so these are all ways that your body is telling you whether you're hungry or not. So it's really important for you to listen into your body and try and be as calm as possible when you're listening to your body, and letting it get really back connected with the body as well. I think you're agreeing with me there, Joanna, are you?
Absolutely. Our bodies are very smart, and sometimes we kind of don't give our bodies credit how smart they are, and they know what's best for us. So if we only let them do their job without disturbing them, and by giving them what they need, our body actually will work quite well for us. So I definitely agree with you. It's about being kind of attuned to what's going on.
And from a dietetic side, Joanna, energy dense foods are generally the foods that people may be more prone to having when they are maybe emotional eating, higher carbohydrate, quicker releasing foods. These can all be fine. If you find that you're eating more of these foods, there's a reason for it, okay? And that could be psychological, or it could just be biological, that If you're a person that's decided right now to embark on a diet, then you're eating too few foods, okay? And generally dieting means a restriction in energy, a restriction in food groups, it can be a restriction in nutrients, and your body generally then needs more, okay? So the message also I want to try and steer people away from is not to ever embark on a diet, not to restrict any food groups, not to restrict their energy intake. And the body needs looked after and need fueled. And going to be working on the psychological side, your body needs the energy to be able to do that. And to an established, a balance is a word that I don't really like using too often, but establishing the correct nutrients and the personalized nutrition that you need by really embarking and including all food groups in your diet, so you're getting all the vitamins and minerals that your body is striving for. So if really you want an active metabolism, if you want a body thriving right now is a time to avoid any of these quick fixes out there, to try and say no to quick fixes and come and talk to a professional, talk to a dietitian, talk to a psychologist or a psychotherapist and get the best advice and to bring it in together.
Yes, I suppose we will be talking about it a little bit more probably next week when we start talking about eating disorders, because this is where the danger lies. We start cutting out certain group foods, and before we know it, we've cut out too much. And also what you've mentioned, there's so much information out there. For example, I'm not trained in this, so when I listen to different talks about diets, it gives me a headache, because actually it's very hard for me to tell what are they right, are they wrong, is that science-based, is there proper research behind it to back it up, are they facts, are they just somebody else's opinions? So I think it's extremely hard for somebody who's not informed about those things to know what is the right thing to do. And if you do need to change your diet for whatever reason it is, I think you have to make sure that you are best informed, because it's very easy to kind of start taking the steps that they might lead you in the direction that you don't really want to go in terms of long-term consequences.
There's so much noise out there. Everyone is giving loads of advice, and it's making people so confused, and people just don't know what to do as well, So what do they do at that point? Then they start to emotionally eat, because they're trying to figure, well, I'm trying to stick with this food plan that I bought on the internet. Just remember that food plan wasn't devised for your body, if you're looking for a plan. And generally when you're working with a dietitian, the dietitian probably won't give you a plan, but will educate you on how to build your own one. So within 2 or 3 or 4 sessions with a dietitian, with no other clinical, conditions, you can have yourself set up for life, with that information. And that then helps to, maybe stopping the chances of you becoming more emotional with your eating as well, because your body will getting fueled with the nutrients there.
Absolutely, because these are the conversations I'm very often having. Stop the comparing, because everybody is different. Everybody has a different lifestyle. Everybody's genetic makeup is also different. So you actually can't compare. And if you won't speak to somebody who will take your requirements into consideration, how are you going to get it right? If we're not trained, we don't know what's going on inside us that well. So that's why it's important to kind of get the proper information that is relevant to you specifically, rather than the general information.
There's one thing I'm really hoping is that with COVID-19 being around and scientists getting more of a say as well, that hopefully the dieting industry and things that just exploded maybe over the last 10 years or so, a lot of food shame, a lot of, people didn't know where to go, so let's just cut through the noise and get the right information and seek it from the correct professionals, which would be registered dietitians. And from the emotional side, and if you find yourself, hiding food, or there's a reason for it, or buying too much food in the petrol station when you're fueling up, or snacking more often, even though you've had your main meals, there can be a psychological reason for behind that. So identify what it is. Maybe if you have people to talk to, start at home and expressing maybe that you just don't know what's going on at the moment, and maybe your family might be able to help. Or if not, connect in with a psychotherapist, and you can have a virtual conversation. You can have like a real conversation that 1 or 2 sessions can really have people on the right pathway as well. So reach out, guys, if you can, and do get the correct help that you deserve. Joanna, we've had some questions when we launched this topic, okay?
Yes.
And I think that both of us definitely should probably try and answer this, you know. One person was like, with emotional eating, like, why do I eat chocolate? You know?
Well, I hope you will tell us, because I'm curious myself about that one. So,
well, I think, you know, why do we eat chocolate? Well, number one, it tastes so darn good, you know. The chocolate, like, once again, a lot of people have put this into like a good or bad food, you know. I would hope that everybody would just stop labeling food as good or bad. Chocolate is sensational. It is a very, you know, very tasty food. And yeah, we all probably want it as part of our lifestyle and in our diet. And there's no harm in doing that. What it can be, though, is that if we, for many different reasons, that we might maybe overindulge in it, okay? And that's not just having a bar of chocolate or maybe 2 bars of chocolate. That could be having something like 4 or 5 or 6 bars or more, do you know? So then that comes down to a different condition in itself, which we might know as binge eating disorder, or bringing it back to emotional eating or so, you know? So again, I think from your side, Joanna, it could be, you know, just trying to, you know, dealing with the emotions and, you know, and the uncertainty in the world right now, and rather trying to jump too far ahead, you know. We're guiding us with the chief medical officer, and at the moment, just focusing on phase 1 and do what the government and the chief medical officer is telling us what to do in phase 1, and maybe, you know, gradually we'll all work together in phase 1 and we'll progress to phase 2, and keeping ourselves calmer and doing what we can do, and stopping ourselves racing ahead. I think that's been quite helpful for some clients that have asked.
Absolutely. Being here and now, and kind of being more mindful of where are you at, how are you feeling, what's going on. So when you were talking about ways of helping yourself, you know, just a simple journaling, you know, what's happening for me right now, how am I feeling, what's going on, just kind of to have more insight into how we really are, and absolutely being here and now, not jumping too far ahead, because nobody knows at the moment what's ahead of us. So let's focus on what we can focus, and what we can do at the moment.
Now, another question we had was like, why do I emotionally eat when I have my period? Yeah.
Oh, yes, so, another interesting one. Yeah.
And it is another, and you know what? I think that's nearly a conversation for really another day, or for me to have, because there's so much science in this, that the body, regarding the biology really, and what is actually happening internally for a woman at this point, you know. So yes, we can turn to food, or yes, our body will ask us for a little bit more higher energy dense foods. And what I'm saying is, if your diet is meeting your requirements and you're getting your nutrient rich, well then nutrient rich foods from your overall balance and meeting all the food groups in there, then, you know, maybe your body just needs that little bit more nourishment. And yeah, quite often that can be the higher energy dense foods that we would just go, because, you know what, they taste good and feel good. And during the biological process of what's happening internally, your body just might need that, and not to challenge it so much. But also reconnecting in, and not to replace maybe high energy dense foods with your more nourishing foods as well. So making sure that you are eating regularly when you get your period. So that would mean no big long gaps of maybe more than 4 hours, or so during the day, and having snacks if you need it in between that, you know. And then outside that, if your body is asking for more, or you do kind of have that slight craving there, that is okay. Listen to it, you know. However, if you do find yourself wanting 5, 6, 7 more items of that one product, then connect in with a dietitian and a psychotherapist. And, you know, that's what my message would be, because there's something else maybe going on there, you know. But once again,
sorry, I was going to say, yes, if you're craving too much of the same food, and if you're feeling shame, guilt, there's discomfort there, then definitely you know that it's worth having a conversation with someone about that.
And you know what, Joanna, there, regarding shame and guilt, I had a really, a bit of a case study to share with you today. Yeah, it was about a gorgeous man. He was 40 to 45 years of age, and he came into my clinic, and he just said to me, he put his hands on his head, he came down like this on the table, and he goes, I'm embarrassed. I know I shouldn't be here. I've done, and I'm not going to name the dieting programs because I don't want to give them airtime, but he'd gone through about 5 or 6 different dieting programs at the time, and he sat down and he was absolutely despaired. And I just sat back and I was listening to him as he expressed, all I want to do is be able to get myself, my metabolism thriving. I want to feel well again. But the bit that really got him, he felt so unmotivated. He felt really embarrassed. His weight was cycling up and down, yo-yo effect. And because he was going, I attended so many other dieting programs, and here I am in a dietitian's office. Like, I know what I should be doing. And so we got chatting, and and everything that he had been through. And of course he was feeling so rubbish about himself. The dieting programs had him on really low energy less diet, should I say. They had him on, I'm not going to mention numbers, but I'm going to let you know that there was lower than 1,500 energy units, which would be calories. Okay, calories are only our units of energy. This man needed 3,000 to 3,500 energy units per day. His body was just shouting out for food. He just needed, and he felt bad because the dieting programs was telling him, no, don't eat this way, which had too little fuel for his body. And then his neuropeptides were always searching for food, and he could never stick with the plan, stick with the program, But
we've been talking about earlier, there might be well-intended information out there, but it's just not right for you. But how do you meant to know that?
Yeah, absolutely not. But the way and the different dieting programs that he had been on, and he was now suffering from a little bit of hypertension. So his doctor was telling him to look after himself, and he's like, I'm engaging with all these dieting programs. So it's something there that I would like our listeners and people who watch this today to take away is, please do not embark on dieting programs that you're just maybe buying off the internet, that are selling them at maybe 1,000 calories, less than 1,000 calories, 1,200 calories, 1,500 calories. They are not looking after your welfare. If you do want to buy a plan, look at energy units per day. The average woman needs around 1,800 energy units to 2.2, and the average man needs somewhere between maybe 2.4 and about 2.7, and that's someone who is quite sedentary in their lives as well. Okay, so try not to. I'm going to give a little bit of nugget here. Is you're probably going to laugh at me when I say this, but the word DIET, diet, the first 3 letters spells something, okay, and it's not good, okay.
Not at all.
Yeah. So these can all be reasons why people are connecting to emotional eating. Okay, so try and connect in with a therapist. Try and connect in with a dietitian. 1, 2, 3 sessions without any other clinical conditions can really help and guide you on your way, where you really don't have to look elsewhere. And then a few top-ups then maybe can really help with that. So if you want to book an appointment with any of the allied health professionals on healthpro.ie, please go to bookings and you'll see the array of specialists that are now being listed on directory. Or if you are a specialist, a health professional, an allied health professional, connect in with us, and we'd love you to join a growing directory to help more and more people. Joanna, do you have anything else to add to today's chat? I'm just conscious we've been chatting again for 38 minutes or so.
No. I would like to thank you for having this chat here today, because I think it's very much needed. And I suppose there's a lot more that we could say about that, but this is just kind of to start those conversations, and for our viewers just to be more informed about different types of eating, and how to kind of take care of your body about your mind and emotions from kind of different angles. So, absolutely. Thank you very much.
And if people are emotionally eating, don't worry. There is help out there. First of all, or maybe even open up about it if you can. And if you can't do it to your loved ones, please, connect in with a psychotherapist or a therapist or a dietitian that is specialized, I suppose, in distressed eating, because there is an answer for it. and you don't have to be living with it for a long period of time, okay? And beginning also, these conversations can also help us to kind of look inward and kind of get to know our bodies again, which I think is really, really important. While some of us out there have a little bit more time, you could use it. And for other people whose lives have gone a bit crazy, understanding what you're fueling yourself with and why can give you a more calmer way of living as well. So for everyone that's listened to us live here today, we're very grateful, Joanna and I, for you listening in. We're going to wrap it up today, and next week we're going to do the same, but we're going to have a different topic, which I think we've agreed live here now today that we're going to...
Yes. I think...
It's another huge passion of Joanna and myself. If anyone has any questions, please, use the comments on both social media streams on Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube. If not, there's the website not the website, but the email, should I say, info@healthpro.ie. A lot of people have been emailing in some questions there today and over the last week, should I say, and this morning. So we will get back to you, but please do, because we can help. And there's a lot of people out there that can help. And there's a lot of noise out there. And we want you to cut through the noise and just get the right help. Yeah? Okay. So thanks very much to everyone listening. Joanna, it's been a pleasure again for you to give up your bit of your Sunday and for connecting in. And we'll be doing our last self-care Sunday next week as well.
Next week.
That's
right.
okay. Take care. Bye, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.